Alright guys, welcome to today's unit analysis for Ylissean Travelers. I want to preface this by saying, as I always do, those of you on Twitch, give lots of hearts and love to those of you on YouTube. Let's all bond as a community. Those of you on YouTube, be sure to leave your comments of love to those on Twitch. Let's bond together. And of course, I will preface this, as I always do, by saying, please don't get offended or triggered if I miss your favorite unit or if I compare your favorite unit to one of the new units. Everything done here is in the essence of objective analysis, and I'm not going to have any sort of bias towards one unit or another, even if I may personally like one character of another. All I'm trying to do is provide you with some information so you can make some good, educated, informed decisions in this game that we all love. So let's get started. So, there are two new units from this batch of 5 that I think are quite unique, and that's a good thing. I think having a reason to pull these units is a good thing, but there are definitely some units that you may want to reconsider pulling for if you haven't already, because it's by the time you see this you might have already pulled. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully you've been watching some of my stuff to make a better decision on it, okay? Anyways, let's start off with Olivia. Olivia is a brand new red sword flyer in the summoning pool. It is a permanent pool, so that's one thing to keep a note, as it's very important for what I'm going to talk about near the end of the video. But she is a permanent sword flying dancer. I think she's definitely the most unique unit from the summoning pool and this banner to come out. If there's one unit to go for, it would be her. There are reasons you don't want to though, and again, I'll talk about this later. It has to do with the orbs, obviously. So, I've given her a sample build on the side. She comes with chill speed, guidance, and I've given her a defense tactic seal. Keep in mind that the builds and the comparisons that I do on the side there are all in the nature of budget and generally new player friendly, so I'm not expecting you to +10 the unit or even target specific IVs, but just to make the unit shine in a manner that doesn't require you to spend lots of money or spend thousands of orbs or have a particular unit in your barracks waiting to be fodder for that unit. Yes, there will be better builds, and you probably won't be able to do some of this stuff, but don't forget she comes with guidance, so this is a fairly good set just from that. Anyways, dancers do what dancers do. Support your units, okay? She's gonna be pretty good on a mixed emblem team because she already comes with guidance, so give her defense tactic. She has chill speed on her base kit, so you're pretty much doing a lot of support already, just like that. Of course, she could work on a flyer team. You just have to change out her guidance for honed flyers or fortified flyers. Fortified flyers being the more budget skill, and you could probably give her hone attack or hone speed seal, and that would be able to cover most bases that way. So Olivia is great. It's just unique. There is no other red sword flyer, so she's the standout from this banner in my opinion. So you can start off strong, but here we go. Okay. Next up is Sumia. Here we go. Whoa, Teach, who is that unit, and why would you dare compare that unit that has less stats than this brand new unit? Okay. So again, I'll preface this by saying there's a reason I compare these two types of units and any of these additional units or future analysis. Okay, there's units in your barracks that are very comparable to the new units that come out. Yes, Sumia does have more stats than Katria at base 5-star. I am very well aware of that, but Katria with merges can reach an acceptable level of performance that Sumia has, okay? So you can use those 3 and 4-star Katrias in your barracks, merge them up if you truly wanted a lance flyer, and get it done. I'm just comparing these two because they have similar stat spreads. The difference is basically 5 speed, 1 attack, I believe, with Sumia having pretty much identical defensive stats. So yeah, at base 5-star it's like that. But one thing you can do with your 3 and 4-star units in the barracks, and Katria being an example of that, is probably pick out the IVs that you want. Okay, so I have a plus speed minus HP Katria here. You can't unfortunately say the same thing unless you pull multiple copies of Sumia, which would cost you hundreds of orbs, maybe even thousands, to get a particular IV, so you can make Katria quite comparable in that regard. Now I've given her again, it's a pretty budget build. The thing with this though is that close defense is on A is the only real non-budget skill there. I've only put that there because Joshua was coming back on a Tempest Trial, so if you did really love Katria, then that'll make her really good. I mean, with double close defense and attack smoke and that quick riposte B slot, you can pretty much get a guaranteed bonfire that does a minimum of 22 extra damage, which is really powerful. Combined with the fact that you might put her on a flyer team and you're going to be doing even more than that, for instance. So Katria is a pretty good unit. We already have that, and unfortunately Blue Lance flyers like Sumia are already in a really crowded unit pool, so she doesn't really stand out very much. Yes, Sumia can run something really crazy like Fire Sweep Lance and be the fastest flyer in the game, but again, limited by merges do really harm that. For instance, Shigure is in the 4-star pool. You have many copies of him. With merges, he's going to outperform Sumia with the exact same build. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to 5-star exclusive units, you definitely should consider availability and merges and such when making these units in the builds. And, you know, should you really summon, because are you really going to use the unit when you have these units in your barracks already? Are spending hundreds of orbs really that worth it to you? Now, of course, if they're your favorite units, I can't stop you. It is a waifu simulator after all. Next up, and what most people to consider, probably the most impactful character here when it comes to stats. I mean, she has the most offensive stat spread out of all healers, and I can definitely agree with you without a doubt. However, just like I've mentioned with all the other units, if you consider what's already in your barracks and you consider things like merges and IVs, well, you don't really need Maribelle because Nana's actually faster. And if you have a plus attack Nana, she's going to have 30 attack rather than 35. So it's like a 5 attack difference. But there's also the defense to consider here. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Why is that defense important? Well, if you compare the actual bulk of Maribelle, which is 50, versus the bulk of Nana, and this is a minus HP Nana, by the way, which is 54, that 4 HP difference, which could be 7, depending on the IV, could be impactful, especially if you look at the build that I've considered here, which is Brazen Attack Speed. If your Nana can take a hit, then you will enter Brazen Attack Speed much easier than Maribelle will, which will give the utility of Nana, especially if you use something like Slow or Fear. You could use Fear instead. Now, the reason I chose Slow and Fear instead of Gravity or Pain, for instance, is because those staffs are the highest attack staffs in the game. They have 12 attack versus Pain, which I think had 8. I don't remember exactly, but it is definitely the highest attack stat staff, so I've given them that to really close the gap between, you know, Maribelle or Nana. And securing kills is important with consideration of using an offensive healer like this. So Brazen Attack Speed, you get this off Linus, who recently came out. You could use an attack 3 seal, or you can use a speed 3 seal, and that'll close the gap there. And the bulk definitely matters to just take a single hit, and then, like, if you put her on a cavalry team, she gets buffed by 4 cav, she'll probably be able to take 1 hit from melee, get you into that Brazen Attack Speed range, and then you'll slaughter some enemies with, you know, 49 without buffs. But if you give her a honed cav, she'll reach 56 colorless damage, which is insane. And considering her speed, she'll definitely double most units in the game. I mean, 44 speed, 50 speed Nana, base merges, guys, 50 speed Nana, not even plus speed IV. It's insanely good. Okay, it's insanely good. I'm not. There's these units that are in your barracks and they're still really good. So yes, Maribelle plus 10 going to outperform Nana, but not in all cases, because that speed could make a difference. I mean, 54 speed Nana is going to outspeed like Carla and you know, Ira, for instance. I mean, that's really good. If you don't have Brazen Attack Speed, maybe you have Brazen Attack Defense. That could also be a substitute, I guess. But nonetheless, like, Nana's great too. She's really offensive. And that difference in attack is marginal if you consider IVs and merges, of course, just like anything here. You want an offensive healer, you probably already have one in the barracks. I wanted to mention that Priscilla can also do funky things as well. She has higher attack, but not as much speed. So if you want to go for like a 1-2 punch, you can kind of go for like a budget option there as well. Maribelle's cool, and the reason she's cool is because she brings a brand new staff to the table. I've had someone in YouTube ask me before, you know, Akariss, how is this fair? You're comparing somebody with a full kit versus units with no kit. Now, keep in mind when I show this off like this, I'm assuming this exact kit on Nana on Maribelle as well. Just please copy the build onto Maribelle, and that's going to be my comparison, okay? What I put on the unit on the left is also the same build that you could put on the unit that has no build here as one of the new units, all right? So let's move on. Bad luck. I've been power creeped. So if those of you don't know, Libra's basically just more stats than Arthur, except Arthur has 3 more HP. Very rarely does that 3 HP matter unless you're going for some sort of infantry pulse build or panic ploy or something like that. Those are the only relevant HP skills that matter. However, let's get a Libra and just sack him off to Arthur. And what can you do with that? Well, this is what you can do with that. Go for some super huge Ignis nukes. So what happens here? Woe Gun, Ignis, Brazen Defense Res, Brash Assault. Okay, so he's so tanky. I mean, you could go with plus res here if you want to go for truly mixed bulk. But if you want to go for like truly unique, this is probably the most unique build I could think of for Arthur right now when comparing him to like Libra or whatever stat spread you wanted. But yeah, take that Woe Gun, give him some extra defense, go with a huge Ignis nuke. Brazen Defense Res brings you up to 49 defense. Brash Assault to synergize with Brazen Defense Res, you go in and attack stuff. But since he has so much defense anyways, you're probably not gonna die on the retaliation, so that's pretty cool. And Fortress Defense just makes it so he's on both phases, and you know you're gonna do most of your damage with Ignis. So yeah, you could run a similar build on Libra and he'll do it better, but just like I've always said, add the merges, the availability, choose your proper IVs, and boom, you got it. Now, why he's minus speed? Because you want to charge Ignis really quickly, get doubled, and you know, Brash Assault will do your doubles when you're under 50% health. So yeah, thanks Arthur. I've actually am really considering like making this because it just feels like something that would just be a lot of fun. Woe Gun. You can change around some of the things too. If you don't want Fortress Defense, you could run like QR, I guess. But QR doesn't work too well with Brazen Defense Res or Brash Assault. I just want to make it like as consistent as possible. Finally, we have our good friend Walhart. Sorry, I mean Walmart. Walmart is indeed unique. He's indeed a unique unit. I don't really have much to compare him to. Technically, he's comparable to like Grumarth or Frederick. Grumarth less so because of limited availability. Frederick, yeah. Frederick will outscale him with merges and availability, but there is one thing that really makes him shine compared to the other two, which will be the fact that he has Wolfberg. And if for those of you that don't know, Wolfberg is a weapon that works kind of like Ephraim's weapon, where as long as there's more enemies around you than allies, you get bonus stats, and those bonus stats are really good. Those 4 to all stats, by the way. That's insanely strong. So there's a lot of unique builds you can do with that. You could actually run something like Brazen Attack Speed, and just like you'll reach 38 speed. And if you buffed them up with Hone Cav before you sent them into the enemy team, you'd have a lot of 30. So I think you'd have how much speed is that? 30, like 44, 43 speed or something. That's really fast. So taking advantage of this weapon would be really good. That's a different take on it. I think just going for the super tank build and going to the middle of the enemy team might be more practical. So you jump in the middle, Brazen Attack Defense, Chill Defense, Close Defense, Attack Smoke something, and just tank the whole enemy team with Walhart. I think that's even immersive at that point, right? You're literally like on point immersion. You just throw him into the enemy team and he's conquering the enemy team, right? So yeah, he's unique, and the thing that makes him unique is his weapon. If you want another Axe Cav that's gonna outperform him, kind of, it would probably be Freddy. Those 4 extra stats could be made up for the fact that Freddy with merges will kind of do the same thing, but nonetheless, at least he comes with Chill Defense. Brazen Attack Defense comes off Ares, and you can do some really fancy things with that. Yeah, I think he's going to be worth building for sure. There's not that many Axe Cavs. There's only Titania, Freddy, Gunter, and Grumarth. So he's definitely someone that could be really useful to your roster. I think he's a definite cool unit. Not much to say. Just really, really strong, really cool addition. Anyways, let's actually talk about why you should or shouldn't pull on the banner. Now, those of you that have really keen eyes will actually see that it says Olwen here. and you'll see that this says, well, it doesn't actually say it, but there's Reinhardt. Okay, yeah, let's explain the logic behind this. Why am I looking at the Nana, Reinhardt, Leaf, Olin banner? Well, the actual statistical orbs to pull these units is similar to this banner, so that's why I'm using it. There's a little bit of a difference here because the more units that get added into a pool, the more orbs you generally need to use, but I wanted to give it as a rough estimate to help you guys decide on whether you should or should not pull. The thing with banners is if it's a 3-unit focus banner, then it is easier to pull focus units. If it's a 4-unit focus banner, then it is more difficult to pull focus units. So the most recent 4-unit focus banner was this one, and I'm going to use that as a comparison here to get a gauge for how many actual orbs you need to spend on this banner. So the green unit on the banner is Libra, which is comparable to Owen, which means that if you look at the orb cost that you need to summon for Libra, it's actually the best. Green is the best units to pull for. So yeah, your average about 143 orbs, median's about 105. For those who don't know, 143 orbs, that's almost half of our income of orbs per month. The median, 105 orbs, means that every second person will get about 105. 2.62% for a first pull. That's not that great because that's like 1 in like 40-ish people are going to get a free pull Libra. So if you got that, consider yourself as one of the 40 that had some good variance. Average pity rate's about 3.5%. So, you know, if you're going above that, then you can start crying. At least if you're targeting Libra. Okay, so Olivia, which is definitely the standout of the banner, unfortunately doesn't have too good probabilities to get. Red is the most saturated pool. There's too many units in it. There's too many 5-stars in it as well. So yeah, I mean, 188 orbs is your average for red here. And again, take this with a grain of salt. It's not completely accurate. Just assume maybe 10 or 15 more orbs on top of this. What I wanted to point out though is the 90th percentile here, which is 425 orbs. And that means that 1 in 10 people will likely spend over 425 orbs for a single copy of Olivia. I mean, it's not so good. For those of you that may look at this and be like, well, this banner was worse because units were sharing a color, I need to definitely break this myth for those of you guys. Statistically speaking, it's less than a 0.5% when units are sharing a color that it affects your chances of getting them, okay? So, you know, please check your reference on this and don't come into YouTube comments flaming and blazing that you're like, oh, Leaf and Swordheart, you know, they shared a banner color here, so, you know, this is not accurate at all, but it actually is. It's going to be about 180 orbs on average to pull Olivia, just as the same as it was here to pull either, to pull specifically Swordheart or specifically Leaf. Now, the reason I'll prove this as well is right here, which is either red. When a unit shares a color, it's less orbs required to pull either those units. This isn't applicable to this banner. No one's sharing colors, but I wanted to point this out anyways. I'll do a more structural analysis for this later at a later time to really debunk the sharing color myth that a lot of people say. But generally, if units share color, it's actually better because you'll pull more 5-stars as a result. This is why something like the Falchion banner was really good with 4 reds, because you got a lot of 5-stars pulling reds because they were all sharing that color. Okay, finally we have Maribelle, comparable to Nana here. You have about 155 orbs on average. 341 is the 90th percentile. That's still significant. That's definitely more than our monthly income of orbs. Unless you open your wallet, you could be in a pretty bad spot, or you haven't saved in a while. 90th percentile, 1 in 10 people kind of get wrecked by that sort of statistic. And blue is it's going to be in between both the red and the colorless. You can see 155 and 188. You can expect blue to be about 160 to 170 on average. Remember, these are just guidelines and estimates. Your by case scenario might be different, but I wanted to give you a guideline for how you should expect walking into these banners and how much saving is so important for it. One last thing I wanted to mention is these units are on a permanent banner. Should you actually pull for them? my conclusion has always been no. You should never pull for permanent banners because for a couple of reasons. One, if you pull for seasonal banners, which are more time limited, you might end up seeing these units as pity breakers in the future. This has happened to me plenty of times. I've gone Flying Nino before as an example. I never pulled for her and she just showed up. I've had Olwen actually. Olwen has pity broken me before, legit. And I just pulled greens on a seasonal, right? That's how it happens. Like, you just don't target the units, they may show up. So, yeah, my opinion on personal banners, please don't pull because you just might end up seeing them later. On top of that, especially if you save orbs for legendary banners, these units will likely show up on legendary banners in the future. So, yeah, definitely don't feel like you feel rushed that you have to do this. They'll show up in focus banners, they'll show up as pity breaks, and they might show up as on legendary banners as well. Not a guarantee, but hey, just something to consider that you could save orbs for something more valuable to you, rather than thinking you may or may not need these units. Either way, please feel free to tell me in the comments below which unit you may desire in the future, or even now, and why you're going to get them, and what builds you may consider on them. Is there any other Awakening units you're really looking forward to being added to the game? Are you disappointed that the new units were not Beast units? Feel free to tell me in the comments below. Okay, and finally, if you're not part of the Akariss Academy, click that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you love me. If you don't love me, well, I still love you anyways, okay? So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.